Hey, good morning, everybody. Welcome to Trendy Trading. My name is Jonathan. Let's go ahead and get started with today's broad market analysis. So we're going to be going over the SPYs, Qs, DIA, and IWM. Those are my tradable charts. Basically, those are the charts that I really look to taking every week. I use what's called a neutral strategy. After I get finished with that, I'm going to show you the gold, the TLT, the TNX, the dollar, which is the DXY, the SKEW, PCALL, VIX, ES futures, NASDAQ futures, oil futures, and then Bitcoin futures. We're going to make this really easy. I trade what's called the neutral strategy for these particular charts, mainly SPY, Qs, DIA, and IWM. The neutral strategy, I've basically taken your Fibonacci's, your supply and demand extension Fibonacci's, use of a little bit of the 9 EMA, and I put all that together to give us very high probability setups. Now, for the last 4 or 5 weeks, I have to say that the setups have worked very, very well. And I've been using this for almost 5 years, and the probabilities suggest that most of these work about 80% of the time. Now, I do want to put a disclaimer out there. Just because a chart looks easy doesn't mean it's easy to execute. But I'm going to try my best to help you find that strategy that really fits in to your schedule. Let's go ahead and get started. With the SPY, notice that we have a neutral strategy. On the left-hand side, we have the weekly, and on the right-hand side, we have the daily. On the left-hand side, I want to show you some candle structure that is very, very important. We have an inside and up here. This suggested once price moved over a certain percentage of this inside and up, we knew that we had a 95% probability of moving to the upside. If you don't know what that is and you're excited to understand what it is, come check us out. TrendyTrading.co can teach you how to find these levels, how to execute these levels with confidence. To the upside, what we're waiting for at some point is whether or not we go inside. Once that red candle fits inside of this previous candle, it doesn't have to be this past week. So once it goes inside, then we're looking for an inside and down, and then into our levels, our trendy levels, or back to this green box, the inside and up. Okay. Now, as far as we're concerned, we are just going to continue to ride the trend. We are getting close into, I wouldn't say close, sorry. We still have a lot of earnings that are coming up. So because of that, I don't expect a big pullback. Matter of fact, what I'm looking for is if we get any sort of pullback, I'm looking for the levels that tell me I should be looking for buyers to step in. I'm going to go ahead and go over those levels with you. To the downside, those levels are 467.56, 465.78, 464.38, and 462.79. To the upside, notice that we have no candle structure up and to the left. What I mean is over this previous high, we have nothing over here, which a lot of traders would call blue sky breakout. Okay. Now we've been doing a little bit of blue sky breakout since we went over this here. Okay, so we do, and it does look a bit extended. Notice where this 9 EMA is. The divergence between that pivot high and that 9 EMA is bigger than a standard 1 deviation. And because of that, I am using caution. Now, I'll tell you what I mean by caution is not that I'm not going to trade. I'm still going to trade, but I'm going to take profits quicker than I typically would, just like I did last week. Even though we had some amazing wins, there's a lot of times where I took profits off quickly just due to some of the underlying circumstances in the market. Now to the upside, these levels that I have found, I use Fibonacci extensions, ATR, average trading range, to find these levels. Those targets to the upside, they're a little bit closer on the SPY this week. That first target's only at 471.72, so notice if for some reason, say we open up in the neutral and price breaks that 470.68, I'm looking to go long, but I'm also looking to trim very quickly at this 471.72. Why? Because again, I feel as if we're a little extended here. Okay, so although I have targets up here, it's getting to that point where it almost feels like we could see an exhaustion gap or some sort like that. So again, I'm just proceeding with a little bit of caution. Doesn't mean I'm not going to take full advantage of the bull market, okay? Again, if for some reason we break down below the neutral, what I'm looking for, let's just say that we gap down into my lower first target at 465.78. What I'm looking for is to buy the dip at my particular levels. And then If we see ourselves at one of these levels, we take it to a smaller time frame. Now, usually at Trendy Trading, I'll use a 4-hour to coach that level, whether or not we're going to take it to the upside. Okay, so very easy. We break above the neutral. I'm looking to take trades long side into these levels, but trimming quickly. And to the downside, I'm looking for an opportunity to buy the dip. Why? Because the overall trend is extremely bullish. Okay, I do want you to take note of the weekly 9 EMA way down here. Okay, again, like I said, there's a lot of divergence there. And to the right hand side, this is your daily. Now, what's so important about the daily? Well, you can see here that the 9 EMA is a little bit closer than the weekly. So circumstances where we're coming into the market and we're getting close to earnings, there's a lot of earnings being reported this week. I just expect little pullbacks, possibly sideways action, and then push right back up. So at most, I wouldn't expect price to break down below this 9 EMA. And again, please, as a disclaimer, I coach this on an hourly, on a daily basis. So if certain levels do break, then obviously I would be looking for this lower 9 EMA on the weekly. But for right now, it's Sunday. What I'm expecting, if we do pull back, I'm finding that my levels should hold here, and that the 9 EMA on the daily would probably be at most my risk going into this upcoming week of the 8th of November. Okay, so again, let me go ahead and show you that. Prices break above the neutral, I'm looking to go long but trimming. And if prices break below, I'm not necessarily looking to short, I'm looking for support. Okay, looking for support, and as I said, I'll coach and look for that opportunity to buy. However, things could change on the hour, every 5 minutes. It just depends. Okay, on the Qs, all right, these things have looked really strong here, and you could see that the QQQ also came from an inside and up, just like the SPY. The overall trend is extremely bullish. We know that. We know that we have buyers lined up here in the weekly cloud. We have the inside and up. It is extended just like the SPY. You could see that from the 9 EMA to the pivot high. So therefore, my targets to the upside on the QQQ are coming in at around 404.36. One thing of caution I would say here. This one for me is a little bit out of reach. It's just over $3. So if we break above here, okay, if we break above here, I'd like to go long. I'm cautious that we may not see the 404 immediately like we have in the last previous weeks, because at some point the momentum's probably going to slow down a little bit. Okay, if that's the case, here's a good trick that I can show you. You're going to take a Fibonacci, you're going to place that between my target and my trigger to go long, and I'm going to use, in this case, I'm going to use the 38.2. I'm going to take that out of there, and boom, I have myself a target. I know it's close, but again, the momentum could die down a little bit. I'm looking for 402.33. Okay, so over here on the right-hand side, on the daily, notice again the 9 EMA. If we were to push up just a little bit, which kind of, shows me if we push up here into that 402.33, my 9 EMA on the daily would then become confluent with my lower T3 or target 3 to the downside. Okay, I like that. I like when my levels start to become confluent with the EMAs and so forth. Okay. Same way as SPY, looking for these targets up here to trim quickly, and also for these to be resistance. Targets to the downside, looking for them to be support. Let's go into the DIA. All right, Dow Jones looking really strong this past week. Boeing also looking strong. I'll be keeping my eye on that, folks. And you all know we did really well on Boeing on Friday, and I went ahead and rolled into that. But that could be a major contributor here, especially if we continue to move to the upside. All right, same thing, look here, inside and up, you can see that we're above the cloud. This one is not as extended, but it is a bit extended from the 9 EMA, same strategy, above 365.02, looking for levels to 366.55, 368, and so forth. And if for some reason we gap down, I'm looking for support into the levels I've drawn here. Anything in the neutral, if I haven't said it already, anything in the neutral, I want to basically stay neutral. So I don't want to be, chasing anything or speculating. For me, anything in the neutral zone is speculation, because remember that green line and that red line, those are high probabilities for that breakout or potential breakdown. All right. So that's the DIA. And over here, one thing I do want to point out on the daily, we do have an inside and up, and we have a bit of a gap fill. So if we break down below the red line, even though there's a 360.74 target, there is an opportunity that price only comes right into this wick, 361.65 to about 361.36 before it bounces, and price may or may not come into this 360.74. And I say that again because the overall trend is extremely bullish. Okay, it doesn't have to come all the way down here. But one thing that you could put into your notes, when you see price push, what happens is this 9 EMA or 8 EMA, just depending on what you use, is going to also push up. What I look for as price is pushing up, I'm looking for this 9 EMA to then touch my target. Once it does that, then I start to think, okay, now we're confluent and this is my risk on the week, right? Because if we were to pull back into that level, we could find a bounce. Again, this would come up here, and then we'd be looking for something like this, okay? So that is the DIA. IWM, let's go ahead and start here. Finally breaks out. Everyone's been waiting for it. Felt like forever. I've been coaching on this for months, and finally we get above it. So you could draw a line right above the apex here at around 235.05. That could be your risk if price decides to come back and test that. That happens to be right around my target 2 of the downside. Now notice I only have 2 targets on the IWM this week. I usually have 3. That's because if we pull back, I would expect it to bounce at the previous all-time high. All right, what was resistance then becomes support. If it breaks down below that, then obviously we're going right back down, most likely to 230.53. Okay, so that's what I'm looking for in IWM. Same exact strategy. If we break out over the green, looking for these white targets here and trimming very quickly. If we break down to the downside, looking for support in those areas. Okay. All right, let's go ahead and move on to gold. So on GLD, I did not change. Speaking of gold, that's funny. I just grabbed my new gold chain that my wife bought me for my birthday. Thank you, baby. I absolutely love this thing. Anyways, so gold has broke over our last neutral strategy, right? So sorry, our last blueprint. And the reason why I'm keeping this, I want to show you guys, and we show this in the room just so everybody can see, but this is exactly what I'm talking about. So notice how price came down into my lower level here and bounced at 164.25, and then we picked up, and then once we went over the neutral, we then hit T1, and now we have this T2 sitting up here. Just want to show you how well these levels are, and again, we keep all of this for history purposes for you to go back and go, wow, this strategy really works, right? So the reason why I'm not changing this is because overall it's still a sideways type of thing, right? And you can see that the yearly is overall neutral. So the way I want to approach this is if this, then that. If price can hold 168.86, look for 170.18. Again, I would expect some resistance here. If we break over 170.18, say we gap up in gold tonight, then I'm looking for 171.68. All right. So pretty straightforward. I wouldn't expect it to break back down below neutral. So for right now, this 168.86 by 167.85 is my support. And these are my targets to the upside. If we blow past all of this over 171.68, look over here towards 173.20 as your next target. All right, let's go ahead to the TLT. All right, taking a look at this. Again, same blueprint as last week. I'm not going to do much here. If this, then that. If price can hold above 148.48, looking for 149.90 where I would expect resistance. If price opens up over 149.90, look for 150.97. Overall trend, weekly and the monthly are extremely bullish. The yearly is bearish. Therefore, what I'm saying is the breakouts I can't really trust, but you can get these, bullish moves on a smaller time frame. Okay, that's basically what these banners are saying here. On the daily, not much to talk about. Again, I'm just keeping the overall blueprint here. If for some reason, just like gold, say we get over this 150.97, look for this next wick right up in this area of 152.66. The TNX, all right, so it finally broke down. I'm not going to change this. I didn't change it last week. This is what we expected. Price moved up into the upper level. I've coached this week after week. I then was looking for prices to reject and then break down. And as the TNX broke down, you could see big beta names start to push up. That's what we expected. Amazon, Google, all of those things. So this guy you really want to have on your radar. So I look at this like a stock, right? We don't trade this. We use it as a instrument to help us gauge parts of the bigger broad market. So it's coming into that next EMA, okay? And if this were just a stock, I'd be saying, hey guys, let's look for this to bounce here, okay? So we're getting very close to that 1438. If for some reason this TNX comes down into 1438 and it starts to bounce, you could see things starting to slow down in the bigger names such as Google and Amazon, okay? So keep that in mind. We keep breaking down, then this is what I would like to see. Let me go ahead and draw this out. So we break down below this line, right? Just imagine you were trading this and you were short. I'd want it to keep dropping if this then that. So if it breaks below 1438, looking for 1410 and possibly all the way down here at 1371. If it starts getting down here towards 1380 by say 1340, I'm really cautious in the market, folks. Matter of fact, what I personally will start doing is buying a little bit of protection, probably 60 days out via SPY put debits or something like that, or even like a butterfly, low risk, high return on some sort of pullback in the market. Okay, so once again, I do need to be paying attention to this and making sure that the broad market is aligned with my portfolio or my allocation. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and put alert down there. All right, so that's TNX. Let's go to the dollar. So the dollar, once again, not changing this. You could see our neutral strategy working really well. We weren't expecting a whole lot here. Same thing, monthly and weekly, meaning smaller time frames, they look a little bullish as far as the long term goes. It's just kind of consolidating and it's pretty sideways here. And, every time it comes up, we get this topping wick, which they're just really like pushing the dollar down here. If for some reason we start to close on the day candle, if we start to close above 94.51, things start to look a little different. Notice on the day over here on the right hand side that we're not breaking over that. Okay, so things are different. If we can close above there, again, I would say caution. Right now, DXY, overall sentiment, neutral. That's it. All right, so the SKEW. So the SKEW, just pay attention to the left side here on the weekly. Again, these are the hedge funds. Basically, the further we get down on the SKEW, the more that I want to put risk on, meaning I'm going to go bigger in my positions. As we start to get higher up here towards this 147, 148, where we are right now, I want to be lower in allocation, or as I said early in the session, is that I want to be taking profits more quickly than I typically would. Again, I have to follow these rules. They've helped me out for a very long time. So the SKEW is getting high. We know that we're going on 6 weeks of just a huge move in the market, and because of that, I want to be careful. Okay, so that is the SKEW coming in at 148. All right, so on the put call ratio, basically I'm going to make this easy. The participants in the market, it's too easy, right? Trading is too easy. Everyone's just buying calls. Everybody's making money. Everybody's opening a service. So everybody's professional. Everyone's professional right now, and that kind of, that happens. This is just a reminder. Please be humble, have fun, but also don't be naive. The market doesn't just continue to keep going up, month after month. So please be careful. This is saying participants are long. And because of that, when participants are long, when the market's too easy, things tend to come back and kind of slap you in the face. So again, I'm taking profits faster than normal, but that's okay. I'm enjoying it. Let's move on to the volatility index. All right, the VIX. For me, I just use these levels. I'm cautious over 20, and I'm cautious as we get closer to 1427. You can see this past week, we got very close there. We started to see a little bit of volatility in the market. Things started to pull back a little bit on Friday. We are in this area where, again, yellow flag. It's kind of like last week, a lot of yellow flags coming into here. However, I will say that we're coming into earnings, so that's the issue that I have learned over time is that a lot of these things they tell you be cautious, but you have to take into consideration what's going on, right? Like what did the Fed say, right? What did they say? Take that into consideration. Hey, we're right into earnings week. So, yes, you might have a lot of things that are lining up to tell you to be careful, but there's also like what's going on right now. And you put those two together, and what you get is a melt up, right? We're not just like dropping out of the sky because there's too many factors in the macro sense that are leading us higher. So just keep that in mind. I don't want to be full on, hey, it's a red flag, I'm not going to trade. I just want to follow the current trend. And right now, with us being in the neutral on the VIX, I'm not too concerned until the VIX starts to push over 1998 or just say 20. Okay. All right. So ES futures, the way I like to do it here in the room is a monthly versus the weekly. Okay. So we give a week, and I shouldn't say weekly. So this is going to have a month attached to it. So if you notice down here in the lower right, it says October weekly. Now, the reason why I don't have a November in there is because I don't need to make a new blueprint yet. This one's worked out very well for us, and I'll tell you a little bit more about this here in a second. But over here on the monthly, this is very important, and you've probably, if you're a fan of Trendy Trading or you're a member here, you've heard this so many times. Basically, I pushed this out before the year even started, and this just goes to show you when it comes to charting, I absolutely know what I'm talking about, and I can project things before they happen by using the methodology that I teach. I pushed this out in December of 2020. This was my projected extension for 2021. It is November. We only have, just less than 2 months left. It looks like I hit my projection. So what does that mean for now? Well, the monthly, this was an extremely bullish candle that came in last week. We said that. We're seeing continuation off of that. And far as right now, if my projection gets, broken, I don't care. I'm a bull, right? But right now, 47.56 is my number to the upside. Now, the weekly, what this is here to help you do is to ride that wave because this is not easy, right? It's easy to come back in hindsight and say, "Wow, look at what I projected," but it's not easy to stay in this trade, or is it? I don't know. It's not. Especially if you're doing ES future contracts or something like that. If you're trading the SPY long term, sure. As long as the prices are staying above this 9 EMA, you stay in a long term trade. All right. ES futures on the right hand side on the weekly, what we want to do there is note that we hit the red box as well. And because we hit the red box, we start to think, okay, it's time to be a little bit cautious. We have, this inside candle. Then we go up 1, 2, 3, 4 weeks up here. All right, very strong. We're at the red box. We kind of chill out. And the way that I want to look at this is if we start to bid above this 46.92, 46.93 area, I'm looking for 47.36, 47.56, and possibly 47.89. Okay. If we were to pull back, where are the areas of support? Well, these lines that I gave that were supposed to be resistance until proven otherwise are now support. So support is down here at 46.38, 46.01, 45.65, and 45.22. All right. Let's go into the NASDAQ. All right. This one's absolutely beautiful as well. And you could see that price as almost to my yearly target as well as 16,508. We could see 17,770, just like the ES, where we could push into the red box and continue to the upside. Okay, so very, very close though to my projected move. As long as price is holding above this blue line, so then I am looking for prices to continue into the red box. If for some reason prices turn around and we come back to that blue line, this is where I expect buyers to step in. Notice over here on the weekly, this is a new blueprint. If we were to pull back into this area, this is where I'm looking for buyers to step in. Okay. Now, this right here is typically a neutral. I'm calling it bullish, but you can call it neutral if you like to. I'm just saying as long as prices can stay above this gray box or in this gray box, it continues to stay bullish. My overall projection for this month, 16,494. Obviously over here, this number two, and then possibly 16,848. Okay. So all looks well here. We are extended from the 9. Over here, we came back last month and hit that 9 to the tick. But over here, we are a bit extended. Let's go into the oil futures. This one's beautiful. I love trading oil futures. I gave this blueprint, weeks ago, and you could see you just wait for the green box. Price came into the green box. It picked up here from 78.97 into 81. This is $1,000 per contract. When you're trading oil futures, for every dollar is 10. Or sorry, every penny is $10. Every dollar equals $1,000. Okay, so it's very important that you have a good blueprint or that you have a good trading strategy when it comes to this. Far as I'm concerned, for the monthly, we stay inside. So that means price is going to stay here inside on oil futures. If it breaks out over 83.29, I would be surprised. If it does, no big deal. We'll just go long into 85.50. But for right now, it is inside. We could see, if price stays here, we could see our next target up into 83s before we find another rejection. Okay. Overall, though, this is my blueprint. Again, green box to red box, so I'm looking for 86 and 90. It may not come until next month, though. All right, which makes sense going into the holiday seasons. All right, Bitcoin. This one's pretty easy. Same blueprint on the left and right side. I was projecting neutral. It stayed in the neutral, and the reason why I knew this is because we're below the trendy edge, and when we are below a trendy edge or any level that I give, it is resistance until proven otherwise. So until Bitcoin can break above 65,000, this is a neutral trade, meaning I don't want to do anything. Okay, I do not want to do anything. I'm a long or looking to get long if price were to come back down into this green box, or if I'm still trying to decide what I want to do, if I want to play some sort of breakout with names that are associated with Bitcoin or just jump in Bitcoin, then I'm not interested until we break above 65,000. All right, guys. So I really appreciate you. Thank you for listening to me. Don't forget to hit the like button. Don't forget to, give us some support out there on Twitter. If you want to check out some of our other strategies and some of our free information, we're on trendytrading.co. Again, trendytrading.co. And you can follow me on Twitter, okay, at trendyjon, TR3NDYJON. I'll be happy to help you. Other than that, my overall sentiment for this entire week, again, is neutral. I'm super bullish. I just want to see that last week's high can be taken out. And then if for some reason it's not and price pulls back, I'm looking to go long at my levels that I've already put on the screen and shared with you here today. Have a great day. Can't wait to see you soon.